Purusha Ashtotara Satashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakti Vrindi ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Devi, Jamuna Devi, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shomaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bo. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatya Deshatarini. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You're also far away. Oh, you like to sit on this ball. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. As it is, chapter 9, text number 14. I know we can't put it on, we don't have anything on, sometimes we put it on this, you don't have it, okay, all right. We'll just have to follow. Do we have Bhagavad Gitas? Maybe. Do we have a few Bhagavad Gitas? Maybe some people can follow. You know, we chant this Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Do you know what the meaning is then? The meaning of the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You know that Lord Krishna's father was, do you know? Vasudeva. And the author of the Vedas is the person who compiled the Vedas. Do you know who that is? Vyasa, yeah. Vyasa. So then when we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om means, oh my Lord, Namo, upper obeisances. So to who are we giving our obeisances to? Come on, I'm putting you on the spot. You know, come on, who knows? You say who? What? That's right, Krishna. Not Krishna's father, not the author of the Vedas, but Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa sarvayar aham eva vedyo. Vedaischa sarvayar aham eva vedyo. By all the Vedas, well, there are many different parts of the Vedas. Some people know the Upanishads. What other parts of the Vedas are there? Rig Veda, the original 4 Vedas, yeah. What else? Sama Veda, yeah, those are the original 4 Vedas. Sama, Rig, Yajur, Atharva Veda, yeah. What else? What? Yeah, we got those 4. So Vedic literature means Vedas and those things that are still giving the purport of the Vedas, which are like the Puranas. There are 18 Puranas. The Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutra, Mahabharata, and Srimad Bhagavatam. And part of the Mahabharata is Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So all these Vedas, the whole point of all the Vedas, Vedaischa sarvayar aham eva vedyo. By all these Vedas, what's the purpose? To know Vasudeva. Krishna, therefore, in the beginning we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, because we're reciting Vedas, which are the whole purpose of the Vedas to help us understand Krishna. And, we can't understand Krishna just by sheer effort. Sweat, toil, mental jugglery, we can't do that. Can you understand Krishna? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Those people, they can know me if they surrender to me. You can know Krishna by surrender, and then Krishna will give you enlightenment. Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. He says that for those who are engaged in my service, who are always engaged in serving me, to those I enlighten them within their heart with the torchlight of knowledge that destroys the darkness of ignorance. So this is the reason we're offering obeisances in the beginning to Lord Krishna as Vasudeva, because it's only by His grace that we can understand what we're going to read. You follow? Makes sense. Okay. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Got it. Okay. So are we going to put this up? Okay, great. We'll read. Did you remember 9th chapter? 14th verse. Very good. Yeah. And the title of the 9th chapter is The Most Confidential Knowledge. Okay. So 9th chapter, 14th verse. You have those who have Bhagavad Gita, they can follow. Very good. Very good. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam.
Satatam Kirtayanto Mam.
Satatam Kirtayanto Mam.
Satatam Kirtayanto Mam.
Yatantascha dridhavrata.
Yatantascha dridhavrata.
Yatantascha dridhavrata.
Yatantascha dridhavrata.
You see in the verse, some people probably read the Devanagari. I don't read the Devanagari, but you might read the Devanagari because many of you know Hindi. How many know Hindi here? Very good, very good. None of the kids know Hindi? Only the adults, right? Okay. Anyway, so there's a long A and a short A. The long A has the line over it, and the short A is without the line over it. So there's a difference in pronunciation. Do you know this? What's the difference? What is it? Yeah, you learned it when you learned the sentence. Yeah, but it's a big difference because the meaning of the word changes between the long A and the short A. So, for example, Vasudeva is Krishna's father, but Vasudeva is Krishna. Right? It's just a change of the A. It's not like that in English too much. Anyway, okay. So. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya.
Namasyantascha mam bhaktya.
Oh, I'll give you an example. Just like we chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra. I don't know if you know this. People who are not who don't come regularly might not know this, but you know the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, how many long A's are there? What?
3.
You sure it's 3?
No, of Hare Ram, 4.
4, yeah, the Ram has a long day, right. Yeah, so this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, no long days. But Hare, because Americans, we don't have any, we don't pronounce the short A so much, so people say Hari, Hari, or Harry sometimes even. But anyway, the Ram is long, so Hare Ram. But then the Panchatattva Mahamantra is because in this age, Lord Chaitanya, being the Yuga avatar, means the incarnation of Krishna who delivers the method of spiritual realization for this particular age. It's important, before we chant the Mahamantra, we always chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra, which is Lord Chaitanya and his associates. And some of you know this, it goes, Shri Krishna
Chaitanya.
You know this? Shri Krishna Chaitanya, and what's the next? What is it? Prabhu what?
Nityananda.
Is it Nityananda or is it Nityananda? Which is it? Which is it? Is it Nityananda or Nityananda? Which one?
Yananda.
I'm getting both. I'm getting both. But if you listen during the kirtan, you'll find most people are chanting Nityananda. Did you know that? So it's somebody else. We're not talking about what. Of course, Krishna's kind, and it's Bhava Grahi Janardana. He can adjust it. But but if you've been around long enough, you should know. It's Nit. If you're in Bengali, it's actually, if you chant in Bengali, it's Nityananda. Yeah. Hold the T. Okay. So that's isn't it? Okay. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya. Nityayukta upasate. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridhavrata. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya. Nityayukta upasate. I'm going to chant it one more time, and then I'm going to ask you to chant it. Okay? So be on your guard. Oh yeah, you can put it up there. It's fine. It's nice. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridhavrata. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya. Nityayukta upasate. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridhavrata. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya. Nityayukta upasate. So change the tune. It's all right. Thank you.
Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridhavrata. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya. Nityayukta upasate.
Vishwambar Gauranga.
Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridhavrata. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya. Nityayukta upasate.
Very good. No? How about one of the ladies? Who's bold? Or not bold? Very good. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridhavrata. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya. Nityayukta upasate. Thank you. One more lady, please.
Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridhavrata. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya.
Nityayukta upasate. Satatam. Always. Kirtayanta. Chanting. Mam. About me. Yatanta. Fully endeavoring. Cha. Also. Dridhavrata. With determination. Namasyanta. Offering obeisances. Cha. And. Mam. Me. Bhakti. bhaktya, in devotion, nitya yukta, perpetually engaged, upasate, worship. Translation. Always chanting my glories. Oh, you want to repeat it? Sure, yeah, it's fine. Always chanting my glories. Who's speaking here?
Krishna.
Okay, just making sure. Endeavoring with great determination. Bowing down before me. These great souls. Perpetually. Worship me. With devotion. Do you know the word endeavor? What does endeavor mean? Huh? Effort, working. Yeah, yes. Trying. Action. Yeah. Okay. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Mahatma. The reason we're talking about Mahatmas, you might not know, but the verse before, this verse 9:14 is a continuation from the previous verse 9:13, which is a description of Mahatmas. So this is a continuation of the description of, you know what you've heard about Mahatmas, right? So this is description further. Okay. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. Does that happen?
Yeah, it did happen.
It has happened? Okay. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. According to Krishna's Bhagavad Gita, yeah. He has no other business. It's not politics or, trade. No, that's not the business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising His holy name, His eternal form, His transcendental qualities, and His uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahma Jyoti, is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam. Remembering Him. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of His 5 transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages in all activities: mental, bodily, vocal, everything in the service of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. You know, when we're talking about determination, do you know?
Vrata.
you don't have to answer all the questions. Yeah. Because see, in the verse it says Durita Vrata, with determination. So here we go. Yeah. So what was determination? What was the example of determination given? Fasting. Just in general. People like to fast on Monday for Lord Shiva. Or what days? Ekadashi. Yeah, Ekadashi. Ekadashi is for those who are followers of Vishnu or Krishna, they fast usually on Ekadashi. Ekadashi, the 11th day of the waning and waxing moon. Yeah. Ekadashi. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. Smiling, right? One does not need to undergo severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder, or a sannyasi, or a brahmachari, in any position, and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus become Mahatma, or great soul. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kata Maikyam Vedati Shapandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. So this is a very famous verse, and it's a very simple verse also. The first part is Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Satatam means always. So, I mean, that might be a little bit tough to follow because, you might lose your voice if you're always chanting, right? After a while. Oh, so what does Satatam mean, really? Always? Yeah, I mean, it starts out with regularly. Just like, do you always take a bath? I work with kids. So the parents come in and they say, he's always throwing a tantrum. Right? Does that happen? He's always throwing a tantrum. He's always done, so is he always throwing a tantrum? No, but he does it a lot. So regularly, all the time, right? So one meaning of Satatam is regularly, follow. At least, sometimes people come to the temple once a week. Well, is that Satatam? You could argue it is, you could argue it's not. But at least it's regular, right? It's regular. No, better, at least, every day. Do you always take a bath? I always take a bath, right? That means you do it at least every day, right? Yes. And better twice or three times. But anyway, at least every day. So always means, the one meaning of always is regularly. So, that's really the purpose of the temple, is to give the congregation and devotees the opportunity to, because chanting is supposed to be always going on here in the temple, all the time. So anybody who comes to the temple First thing is they have to chant. You got to chant. And there's two kinds of chanting. There's kirtan, where we do it out loud, and there's japa. And you can do both. You can do both at your home, but you also can do it, especially, you can do it in the temple. Regularly, always. And if you get good at it, if you make advancement in it, then the thing is, you won't want to stop. That's when you get a little bit of a taste of spiritual life. In the beginning of spiritual life, there's something called Vaidhi Bhakti. Have you heard this? What is Vaidhi Bhakti? Do you know? It's like sadhana, yeah. Vaidhi means there's vidhi, that means there's rules. You can follow the rules. You follow the rules, and you do it. Sometimes you don't feel like doing it. Just like today, sometimes people, some of the kids, the parents have to drag their kids here to the temple. No, it's all. Does it happen? Yeah, it happens. Yeah. You don't feel like you drag your mind. Service. Vaidhi Bhakti means you do it according to rule and regulation. So, certain things are very important for spiritual advancement, negatives and positives. So the beginning of spiritual advancement is to regularly hear and chant about Krishna. So, doing it not necessarily because you really have an enjoyment of it, but because it's how you're going to make further progress. There's different stages in how to make progress in bhakti. I don't know if you know this. Do you know this stuff? Just like when you go to school, you call it first standard, second standard. You know where you are, and then the kids are hoping they're going to graduate at some point, right? You got to go to the schools on. But you can know where you are in school, and some people, they spend many years in a PhD program, but at least they know they're in the PhD program. You know where you are. So similarly, in the progress of spiritual life, there are different stages. I don't know if you know this. This is described in the literature of the six Goswamis. So it goes, the first stage, you know what the first stage is? Adal Shraddha. Adal Shraddha means, you have some faith that the material life isn't all there is. If we're just a bunch of chemicals interacting for a short period of time, what difference does it make about whether you go to a temple or not? But Shraddha means we have some faith that beyond this material body, there's something permanent, the spirit soul. Human life begins at this point. The animal life means eating, sleeping, what? Defending, sexual involvement. These four things. And if in the human life that's our only business, then there's no difference between us and the animals. So I give the example. Srila Prabhupada met one developer in Bombay. You know the story. Interesting. He was actually a very nice guy. But when Srila Prabhupada first met him, he asked, "Okay, so what do you do in the morning? What do you do what's your schedule like?" And so he says, "Well, I get up, I read the paper, I have some little post, and breakfast. I go about like that." So Srila Prabhupada said then, what's the difference between you and a pig? Really? He knew who he was talking to. But anyway, but the fact is, if that's all we're doing, we're just taking care of the physical needs of the body. This is animal life. So Shraddha, the Shraddha means the first part of Shraddha is understanding that we have a different mission in this life. Our mission should be to progress on the spiritual path, to understand who we are, why we're suffering, and to free ourselves from suffering. So that's a big deal. So the beginning is adashra, and to have some determination that that's what we want to do in this life. So adashra. Then, next stage is after adashra. Then there's tata sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha means association with saintly people, because whoever you associate with, you naturally are going to become like them. Naturally become like them. So today we have some. Oh, they're not listening here today. But some kids went away to college and they came back because now there's the Christmas break, right? So when you go away to college, there's the danger. The parents keep the kids carefully in their home, right? Then they go away, they live in the residence halls, and then what's going on in residence halls? I mean, honestly, what's going on there? Lots of stuff that you and I want to mention in this class here today. It's a fact. It's a fact. So by association, it's not unusual for people to become involved in all kinds of nasty things, right? I know it used to be, I don't know if it's still true, but it used to be that from India, people who went to college and they stay in a hostel, so they thought, uh-oh. Do they still think that? If they stay in a hostel, look out, there's some problem with that guy. It's because of association. So whoever you associate with, and that's your choice who you associate with. Usually people like to associate with people who are going to, they have something in common. So if the thing you have, if your purpose in life is spiritual development, then naturally you want to associate with others who have some spiritual interests. And like, somebody who's a sports player, say, what's a good sport? Tennis. Anybody play tennis here? No. So anyway, you can have the person who can play sports, be good in, but they can play with someone who's good or better than them, and then their ability improves, right? Isn't it? Yeah. So if they play with somebody who's lousy, I mean that's nice, but their ability doesn't improve. So it's especially good. Even there's sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha means associating with people on the spiritual path, but to especially associate with those who might have a higher realization than you, because then they're going to you can learn more from them. Does that make sense? Yeah. So Shraddha, then sadhu sangha, then, and when you have some faith, then some you're associating with. Just like here we have an association. That's another purpose for the temple. The purpose of the temple is to allow people to come together so we can discuss stuff like this. It becomes fun. Actually, Lord Kapila said that. He said, Satam prasangam mama virya samvido. Is that, this verse? Very nice verse. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana katha. It means in the association of devotees, in the association of saintly people, it talks about him become very nectarian. Then, by hearing of that talk, when they were talking among devotees, the path of repeated birth and death is cut off, apavarga, and the path of liberation is clear. Then Shraddha, Ratir, Bhakti, Anukramishati. Then one develops in the association of devotees, hearing and chanting about Krishna. One develops step by step. Faith, Shraddha, Ratir, attachment, Bhakti, and Bhakti becomes manifest in the heart. So these are very important steps. First was Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajana Kriya, regularly doing devotional service. So these are the steps. There's steps. Then So then when you do devotional service, if we're like most people, you get into something for a little while and then you kind of get out of it. Does that happen? People kind of go into, things become fads. Well, for a couple of weeks they thought this Krishna consciousness is good. But then we're doing something else. We'd like to do something political, or something entertaining, or something else. But, so that the devotional service is inconsistent. But then, after regularly practicing in the association of devotees, then the devotional service becomes, what's it called? Nishta. Nishta means it becomes fixed. It becomes something that you can't do without. It just becomes as strong and as part of your life as you can imagine. This is now you're pretty much on the path back to the spiritual world, which is talking about here. And where does it start? Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Hearing. So the Shraddha that you hear in the association of devotees regularly. Very nice, very nice. So this verse also, it describes or predicts the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You follow? I mean, it's always true that chanting and hearing about Krishna is a spiritually uplifting and transcendental thing. When Narad Muni was in his previous life, I don't know if you know this, but Narad Muni, we don't have any pictures of Narad Muni here, but when he was in his previous life, he was the son of a maid servant, means a dasiputra, and actually we can go back one further. He was previous to that he was a demigod. This is reincarnation. He was a demigod, and so he had a really good voice. You know that? He was a good singer. And when you sing, what happens? If you have a good voice, then you get a lot of adulation. And he liked that adulation. So he was in this assembly, and there were some other demigod devotees there, but he started singing these, like, what you call them ghazal? You call them ghazal? Anyway, not ghazal, but like that. Not like that. He was singing with glories of different demigods and all this, instead of glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They said, what is this? The demigod, what is this? What are you supposed to? You're doing this? You're just doing this for your own aggrandizement and adulation? So they cursed him. You're going to come into the earth, and you're going to be born as a dasi putra, the son of a maidservant. Which means he didn't know his father. Sometimes you ask somebody, who's your father? I don't know. That means something. Anyway, so he didn't know his father was, but his mother was very nice lady. And sometimes when the rainy season comes in India, during the rainy season, it's harder to travel. Just like it's wet outside here on the front lawn, and some people tried to come in to their cars and they got stuck. You know that. Did you get stuck? Anyway, they pulled in. Anyway, the rainy season is wet, and so people get stuck. So they choose not to travel too much, even though they travel regularly. So they stayed at his mom's house. And what were they doing? They were hearing and chanting about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he heard him, and he was just a little boy of 5. He could usually, what little kids do, they run around, they cause trouble, right? They like to play sports, all that stuff. But just by hearing the commentary and the discussion of those saintly people, those Bhaktivedantas, he became purified. He made an advancement in devotional service. So this was back then. It applies so much so now. Because in other ages, there were other methods to make advancement in spiritual life. In other ages, you might be able to progress by doing the yoga system. Dhyan. Or you make progress in making big sacrifices. Or you make progress in doing temple worship. But Kalota Vari Kirtana, in Kali Yuga, there's no other method. Nothing else but this Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. That's the main item for making prayers, the only item. I think, some of you know the verse, it goes, Hare Ranam, Hare Ranam eva kevalam, kalo nastyeva nyastyeva. What Purana is that from? Brihadaradiya Purana, yeah. So this is in Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, kalo nastyeva. There's no other method. And they say it, the verses goes over 3 times. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. 3 times it says it. Nastyeva, Nastyeva. Why do they do that? Sometimes, like if you're dealing with your little son, you got to say, stop that, stop that, stop that. Isn't that? They don't do it the first time. So 3 times you got to say it. Because people, they, can't we do something else? No, only this. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. Chanting the holy names, chanting the holy names, chanting the holy names. Very important. This is the essential method. And Lord Chaitanya specifically came to promulgate the chanting of the holy names, chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra in Kali Yuga. So it's very good. So our spiritual life will develop and flourish as the more we regularly Satatam. Satatam can be weekly. Like people come every week. This is very good. It's very good. But better it's daily. Better daily. Like you take a shower every day, right? You got it because it cleans you outside. Because you know what happens with you get stinky if you're like me, right? No, not like maybe probably not as bad as me. But after a while, so you got to clean yourself off because otherwise you get dirty. So that's on the outside, but there's internal cleanliness as well. And our mind gets very dirty very fast. So you got to clean it regularly, right? Clean it regularly. And so Lord Chaitanya, he recommended the chanting of the holy names. You can do it by yourself, individually, which is japa. This is very good. But it's especially cleansing. It's especially cleansing when you do it together. That's called Sankirtan. Sankirtan is especially cleansing because you get the association of devotees and the kirtan together, both together. Very important. So this is the function of this important function of this temple. Kirtan, and regular chanting of holy names. Okay. So I've spoken for a little while. Do you have any questions or comments or additions that you'd like to make? Yes, sir.
Question about the sadhu sangha that you mentioned as one of the steps for advancement in devotional service. What is the real meaning of association with sadhus? For example, Prahlad Maharaj was one of the Mahabhagavats. Hiranyakashipu had his association, sadhu sangha, but it didn't change him. So what's the real meaning of sadhu sangha? Okay. Second question is...
One question at a time. Very good point, because sadhu sangha, a fly can land on a sadhu, and that's not necessarily right? But real association means to hear from them, and also, what Prahlad Maharaj says is, unless you do service for the sadhu and take the dust of their feet, which means really to do service, you can't make an answer. So, hearing, which is beginning service, and then do seva. That's association. And there's 2 kinds of seva. You can do vapu seva and vani seva. Vapu seva means serving their physical body, and vani seva means serving their instruction. So these are especially good places. But, those are the important parts of sadhu sangha. 2.
When we come to temple, how do we really make use of the sadhu sangha concept?
Well, there's lots of service to be done in the temple, whether it's on Sunday or otherwise. Sometimes, you find people, like we clean the floor after prashadam, and people spontaneously like to help out. But that's in the association seva. There's the class. sometimes we like to sit outside and talk, but it's better if we hear. That's making use of it. What else? What other ways you can make use of sadhu sangha? Sitting and discussing. When you're talking just Sunday or any day?
Any day.
Yeah. Any day. I don't know if people know, but there are regular classes here in the temple. I don't know if you know that. Like every Wednesday, every single Wednesday, there's a kirtan here from 6:30 to 8. Did you know that? How many knew that? Okay, great. Some people knew. Very not very good. Every single Wednesday here. So every single Wednesday. But you know how many people come? Handful. I know. We say, this is the Hare Krishna movement, and this is the very important thing, chanting Hare Krishna. But I know that people chant in their homes and things like that. But especially in the temple, it's a very important thing. To come together, come together. That'll be really bolster our Krishna consciousness and cleanse us. So that Wednesday, then Thursday. I mean, in the morning time, you're giving class on Tuesday morning, isn't it? Isn't it?
Alternate.
Well, yeah. You get credit for that. It's credit. I mean, in the morning there's class, most days in the morning, and then the evening. Do we don't have any classes on the other day? Just right now it's Wednesday and Thursday. On Thursday we have another class which is very interesting. There's the class in the morning is usually Srimad Bhagavatam, but on Wednesday we do Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita is the pastimes or the activities of Lord Chaitanya, who's the Yuga Avatar. Yeah, straight. So that's Wednesday morning. It starts at 7:30, and then Thursday it's at 7 o'clock. We read Prabhupada's pastime, Prabhupada's activities in the Hare Krishna movement. And people say, some people say, why do we do that? Actually, we did the whole Krishna 10th canto, Krishna book. It took about a year and a half, Thursday. So then we started the Lamana. But the activities of a pure devotee, they're non-different than Krishna's activities. One time Srila Prabhupada was asked, is Joan of Arc in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Do you know who Joan of Arc is? Have you heard of Joan of Arc? So it was in Seattle. You can hear it on the tape, probably. Is Joan of Arc in the Srimad Bhagavatam? So you know what Prabhupada said? He said,
yes.
He said, if she's a devotee, yes. If she's a devotee, yes, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's it. There's the book Bhagavatam and the person Bhagavatam. So those activities are wonderful. And it's important to get it, people talk about it, but in the cyclic succession directly. So Prabhupada's activities are also transcendental. And we've been reading that list. Those things. What other, did you have something else in mind? I mean, yeah, there's so many services like doing the garlands that people do, I think. Some people do garlands, yeah. What's a garland? It's a seva. This is wonderful seva. Thank you. Thank you very much. And making sweets but cleaning the temple. There's so many services. The temple is like a place you can get so many services to do, and everybody should at least do some service when you come. It's usually we have the attitude when we go someplace to see how can we enjoy. I mean, this is our habit, this is our nature, we think, well, how am I going to be happy here? And what am I going to do to get happiness? But, devotional service turns that around. We say, how can I do service? What service can I do? To please Krishna. This is the change of mentality. What's in it for me? Well, if you serve Krishna, then automatically you'll start to be happy. This is good. So when you come to the temple, it's really good idea to serve. Think how I can serve Krishna. What can I do to serve Krishna? There's so many services you can do here. In hearing and chanting, it begins, and then also the Guru recommends cleaning also. They clean pots after Sunday feast, don't they? So many things to do. I mean, one thing about devotional service, I'm going on, is there's a nice verse. Sarvupadi Vinyarbhuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakta Ruchate. You know this one, Bhakta Ruttama. Yeah. Sarvupadi means you have to free yourself from all designations. Free yourself from all designations and engage your senses in the service of the master of the senses. So that we have so many designations. We think, oh, I'm a very, very important person. I'm a very, very distinguished person. I can't raise my hands up in the kirtan and start to dance because people think I'm loony. Sarvapadi even in muktam. You have to give up that consciousness. I'm a very distinguished person. No, yeah. Or think, well, I'm a very rich man. I can hire people to. I don't need to go in the kitchen and wash pots. That's a job for kind of like worker type people, not me. I'm an executive, right? I'm an executive. There's a story with Lord Chaitanya. There's a king in Puri. His name was Prataparudra Maharaj. Prataparudra Maharaj, he was a devotee and he wanted to see Lord Chaitanya very badly. But Lord Chaitanya wouldn't see him because Lord Chaitanya was a sannyasi. And as a sannyasi, they're not supposed to mix, have that association with rich men, worldly men, because they can get influenced. So Lord Chaitanya said, "Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim." I don't want wealth. I don't want followers. I don't want beautiful women. I just want to do devotional service. So he was very strict about that. So he didn't want to see the king. He refused to see him. And the king did so many things in service. Finally, the thing that really convinced Lord Chaitanya that he should give him his darshan, you know what he did? He took a broom and he swept the way for Lord Jagannath. So he came down from his position as being, the big shot, the big king. You can hire 1,000 workers to sweep but he didn't do that. He did it himself. He went and he swept the road. And because of that, Lord Chaitanya gave him his audience. So free ourselves from all material and then learn to become a humble servant of Krishna, because that's the fact. The fact is, so bhagavatosmi aham sadada sopi sadavasa. Our identity as soul is to be the eternal servant of God. That is our identity. And, we just have to practice working in that way, and then it becomes realized. But we get distracted and we think we have so many other things, important things to do. We have to work hard. The elephants are getting their food. There's hundreds of elephants in the jungle and they're getting their food. They don't go to the office. No elephant goes to the office. Isn't it? No bird goes to the office, but they're getting their food. But we think we have so much work to do, we don't have time to serve Krishna. So take time, take the time, and we learn how to do service. It's very good. Okay. Other question?
Like serving, following the guidance and instructions of the devotees?
Yes.
Isn't that the best way to serve Vaishnava?
Yes. Vani? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right.